Hello, and thanks for checking out the latest LAAGCast. It is July 26th, 2018, and I am your host, Max Williams. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Will Henry.
Hey.
And Sam Richards.
Hello.
All right, so, Will, you want to say a little something about what we thought was kind of outrageous this week?
They're doing something with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, they're touching the perfect series. What are they doing?
Yes, the internet is ablaze with the news that they will be rebooting Buffy with Joss Whedon still at the helm somehow.
Yeah, but it's very odd.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would have thought that he was on the outs with the majority of Hollywood with the way things had gone for him on the personal level.
Yeah, but it appears not. I mean, he's made a bunch of good work, and how can you have Buffy without Joss Whedon?
Well, we're going to find out, and not only that, but the only piece of news that they cared to announce about this series was that they were looking for an African-American lead actress to play Buffy, which, for some reason, this is the one that it's okay to be mad about, and you're not at fault somehow. Because every other time that they do a race swap for a character in Hollywood, anybody who complains is labeled as like, oh, well, you can't handle the progressive future, blah, blah, you know, that garbage argument. And it's just so funny that the people who are usually making that accusation are now the ones gnashing their teeth at the idea of their sacred cow being violated somehow.
I feel like we actually hit the limit like a little while back, and now people are finally realizing how ridiculous it's gotten, and they're toning it back just a bit. It's like it's fine to include everybody, but we have all these classic series, and they're going to ruin every single one in some way before they're through with that.
And everybody did such a good job in the original Buffy. Why do you even need to remake it?
I mean, it's not a remake. I don't think it honestly sounds more like this is another Slayer.
Well, if they go that way, that's the way that makes more sense, because it is built into the mythology to be able to do that. But then why are you having a main character named Buffy?
Did they say the main character is named Buffy?
I believe they were saying that they wanted to cast the girl as Buffy. Like, and people wouldn't be complaining if it was the other way around.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was that bad.
I agree. If it was just going to be like, here's the next Slayer, here she is, then who cares?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah, and I think everybody would feel the same way. But I'm fairly certain that what we've been told is that this is, Joss Whedon once again rebooting his own property, which he's done it before. The TV Buffy is a reboot of his own Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, which is quite different.
That's true.
So, it is what it is.
Isn't the show technically a continuation of what happens in the movie, just with recasting?
I believe that there are some incongruities that make it so that it isn't a perfect sequel. Like, some stuff doesn't line up. I believe what I remember to have read on the Buffy wiki back when I was doing my last rewatch. Yeah, but it is supposed to be that. I believe you are correct. But, I mean, it's kind of a soft reboot.
Yeah. It's correct enough.
Will, lay some game news on us.
So, somehow Amazon was selling 2 pirated versions of games from different developers.
Like, digital selling?
Yeah, and they were just straight up pirated copies of the games. And they're selling them for, I believe, a discounted price as well.
So these guys had figured out a way to cheat Amazon's third-party seller system.
Yes, exactly. Or something along those lines. They weren't very specific about how this occurred.
So were people not able to play the games that they bought?
No, I believe, a lot of games these days have certain, anti-piracy things that just make the game a little worse if you pirate it. So, because then the people don't bother to make cracks and things, so it's just like, it's the game, it's just a little worse.
Right.
So, I guess they just got low-quality versions of the games if they bought them. And Amazon came to a deal with the developers to give anybody who bought a pirated copy a free copy of the actual game, and I assume Amazon is paying for the extra cost to the developer.
Because it's their mess up?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's good, because that could have been fatal for a small developer to be, like, anybody who tried out your game, like thousands of people who made the choice, and then they got stuck with that. That's a negative memory. That's tough to overcome.
That's true, and Surviving Mars is a game that got a lot of good reviews, but did not get very many players, so they may have suffered a little bit.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Speaking of piracy.
Yeah, so Nintendo has decided to take legal action against 2 emulator sites, Love ROMs and Retro ROMs, because they say they're profiting too much off the ads on their websites.
So they ran some metric and figured out how much ad revenue these sites were making and decided that they hit some threshold.
Probably. I mean, judging by one of the sites that gets around 17 million monthly visitors, that's definitely getting into the thousands of dollars of ad revenue.
Yeah, man, that's a pretty profitable business.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't have that when you want to be convincing people to buy things on the virtual console.
Yeah, it's just a little unfortunate because, ROMs are great. But there's so many sites that I'm certain that this won't really affect the market.
Yeah, I've never even heard of those 2 sites.
Yeah. I mean, not that any of us has ever or would ever download a ROM.
Well, I've downloaded ROMs for games that I've owned, just because I wanted to play it with save states.
I love save states.
Somehow I play video games. I don't know how.
They just appear and you play them?
Yes, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, how about we talk about some games that we've been playing?
Yeah, sounds good. Sam, have you been playing anything lately?
I've been playing some Mass Effect.
Which Mass Effect?
Mostly 2, but after playing 2 for a little while and remembering just how good a Mass Effect is, I decided to go back and start a new game of Mass Effect 1.
Oh, you went backwards?
Yeah, I went backwards.
That's not what I was expecting you to say. Interesting. So, how far are you into 1 now?
I'm almost a Spectre, so mostly I've just been running around doing all the Citadel stuff.
Right.
Which is pretty good. It really gets all the characters together pretty quickly.
And going back from 2, it wasn't too much of a gameplay difference?
No, not at all.
No?
Nah.
Interesting, because
I
always felt like 2 was much faster to play for some reason, but I never played them back to back like that.
Yeah, a little bit with the aiming, and you don't have to go into the menus so much in 2. It's a little bit more streamlined everywhere.
Right, yeah, the item system in 1 is kind of the low point.
It is a little bit inflated.
Yeah, and actually having to drive on planets versus scanning them with your scanning planet beam is dicey.
Yeah, I'm hoping to skip as much of that as possible. Any time in the buggy.
Not going for platinum?
No, certainly not. I'm mostly just doing it for the story.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a good story.
It's a good story. It's the closest to Star Trek any game I ever played has gotten.
Interesting, because I always equated a lot more to Star Wars than to Star Trek.
That makes sense. I mean, it's so close to the previous games from BioWare, Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It gives me a little bit more of a Star Trek vibe, the way you're interacting with the aliens.
Like the diplomacy options.
The diplomacy options, yeah. And the little bit of slight xenophobia, racism between the aliens themselves, it makes it a little bit more real.
Yeah, it's true. That is pretty uncommon for Star Wars to do anything with xenophobia outside of the Empire is racist.
Right.
Yeah.
Only the bad guys can have anything like that, and then, makes the characters a little less complex. No O'Briens there.
No O'Briens. Yeah. Well, anything else?
No. I'm going to continue to play it. I'll have more to say, I'm sure.
What class are you playing as for your Shepherd?
What am I? I'm the one that's part mechanic, part soldier.
Okay.
I believe that's a Sentinel?
You may be right. Whichever one doesn't have biotic. That's
Right.
a mix of the other two.
Yeah.
Cool.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I like sniper rifles in that game. They're way overpowered.
You like sniper rifles in every game.
Well, most games, not every game.
I also quite enjoy a good sniper rifle. I like feeling comfortable and safe while I take out enemies from a distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Mass Effect is such a cover shooter.
Yes. Yeah, a little clunky cover shooter, but it's got a real good plot, real good characters, pretty good world.
Yeah. I feel like I may have been turned off by the fact that it was a cover shooter because I only go and play Mass Effect after I played Knights of the Old Republic, and I want to be a Jedi, and then I'm not a Jedi. I can't run out there and just run into them. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it does. If you just have to spec a little bit more into certain things, but you could totally be like a shotgunner biotic and then be like running out with a shield and getting up close and personal and not doing. It's just, I think it requires a little bit more of a time investment than playing as any of the cover shooter versions of characters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like cover shooters, personally.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I also like shooters of sorts, and me and Sam played another one this week.
What's that?
Enter the Gungeon, which we've played before.
Yes.
I played it before.
But we came back, and the game was very different this time around. Like, it's the same game, but we were finding different guns, and there appeared to be different mechanics going on. Like, we could knock down chandeliers, and like all sorts of other little things that we did not see in any of our previous play, even though it felt like we were getting a lot of the same things back then. It felt like we were getting different things now.
So it's been updated, you think?
The game has definitely been updated, and I knew that it had a big update because they were like adding another floor, I believe. It's 6. It was 6 floors. I think it might be 7 now. I don't know for sure. But I didn't realize that they were just going to add so much to the overall game, because it felt like they had almost doubled not doubled, but added like 25% more content, which is awesome.
That's true. Enemies, traps, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, even the enemies. We're hitting level 2, and there's new enemies in level 2. It's like, that's awesome.
Some of them were a little janky.
Like, what was it was like dynamite running around, and then when it tripped, it would knock like 5 more dynamite out that would explode in a line.
yeah, line of explosions, but super easy to get caught on a corner or a wall or something, so it was like no problem getting around those dynamites.
Yeah. Overall, it's just a really fun game. There's only one enemy that I hate, which is like the sarcophagus. What's the spiked one called? The Iron Maiden. Yeah, the Iron Maiden is just the most annoying enemy because you can only shoot it when it's open, and when it's open, it's just firing things in all directions.
Which then stop, turn around, and travel backwards back into the sarcophagus, which is super annoying to dodge.
Yeah, it's awful. It's a very annoying enemy, and I think me and Sam would do a lot better if we never ran into those. But beside that, it's all fun.
It's a roguelike, right? You're going through slightly randomized stuff?
Yeah, and it barely has anything carries over. Like, we keep meeting new people, and like we unlocked a second shop that we can now find sometimes. But all of this is so far and spread apart and unreliable, I feel, that it really is a true roguelike in a lot of ways. Not so much of a roguelite, even though that's more accurate.
It's almost more of an arcade game.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Straight arcade game.
Yeah.
It is a lot like an arcade game. That's true.
It's very fun in that fact, because we can pick it up at any time, and it's the same conditions.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you? You play anything, Max?
Yeah, I played a couple of things. I reinstalled Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, yeah.
Played that for, I think, 3 or 4 days, and it got me in a good enough mood that when I hopped on Steam and saw that Shadow of War was on sale, I went ahead and bought that and downloaded it. Giant download, man. It was like over 100 gigs, I want to say.
That is giant.
Yeah, it was huge. I had to uninstall so much stuff to get it onto my drive. It was hilarious. Yeah, everything went. But I did get it successfully installed and fired up. And, man, you guys, my only complaint about that game is that I've had very little time to squeeze in to actually play it since I downloaded it, because it is too much fun. It's everything that was fun about the first one, but with significant playability upgrades. And I still haven't even gotten out of the first city and started recruiting orcs to my cause yet. Like, I haven't gotten the ability to brand orcs yet.
Yeah, because I watched a little bit of you playing, and the biggest thing I noticed is just that the world looks so much better, because in the first one it's kind of like open barren fields in like the off season.
Right, there's a couple of like ruined buildings that are all like super open tops, and and this one starts you off in, I think it's Minas Ithil is what it's called, and it's a city in Gondor, because it turns out that these games take place like hundreds of years before the journey to cast the ring that Frodo takes into the volcano, even though this is technically a separate timeline, because some crazy stuff happens with these characters in terms of how it impacts the overall plot. It's hilarious, and we'll get to that as I play through the game. But they threw in lots of great little things that weren't in the first game, like double jump.
Oh yeah, the double jump looks really nice.
And it's a hilarious double jump because he straight up like does a little flip cartwheel when you do the second jump, like just to let you know how much fun you're supposed to be having. And right from the beginning, it starts you off with pretty much all of the movement upgrades that you end the first game with. So you can tap A when you climb in order to get a little boost.
Oh, that's
and now
nice.
You can sort of do a jump when you're scaling a tower where you can be propelling yourself up 30, 35, 40 feet all in one jump, just to make it really easy and fast to get anywhere.
And it just kills any Assassin's Creed when it comes to mobility.
Yeah, the movement feels so good in that game in comparison to an Assassin's Creed. And then it's got that Batman combat, which is a lot more fun, in my opinion, than any iteration of Assassin's Creed that we've had. And it's got a really good system for it. And the Nemesis system. We always talked about how much we like the Nemesis system, and we've only previously played the first game. And man, the Nemesis system is pretty cool in this one.
Oh yeah?
The number of things that orcs can be and things they can do has multiplied. You can run into magician orcs that can throw down like smoke clouds and disappear in order to end the fight if they're getting near death.
Oh, nice.
And there's definitely been a couple of like assassin hunter types that have shown up when I'm attacking other ones, just in order to. And they've announced that they've been tracking me from the shadows, and every time you kill one of them, if you don't take their head off, then there's a good chance it's going to come back and become a continuing nemesis, just with whatever damage you cause to it repaired. And maybe it'll have like a little mechanical arm, or like the arrow, an arrow gouged out his eye because you killed him with an arrow. But whatever happens, he'll come back invincible to the way you killed him the first time.
Wow.
And that was from the older Nemesis system too. But yeah, it's just
so good.
It's real fun to play, and I'm really enjoying it. The story is weird. You really seem at odds with your elf possessing thing ghost that's like most of your power source in this one.
The guy who made the rings.
The guy who made the ring. Like in the first game, it seemed like you got along with him pretty well. In this one, you're very much at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah.
And also, for some reason, I don't remember if I even finished like all of the first game and saw the complete ending.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, this one starts out and Shelob is there, but Shelob is like a chick, not a spider.
So that was like the number one problem that everybody had with this game, is like, why did they decide to take the spider and turn it into a hot chick? Like, what was the logic?
Yeah.
Nobody can explain it.
It's funny because you'll have like a vision that has her in it, and you'll come back and Celebrimbor will say like, oh, you can hide her. She can hide her true beastly form, but she is a true demon, blah, 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 etc. But, like, I haven't seen the spider version. Like, I can't... and it's weird. Like, at the end of the last game, I guess you forged another one ring, like, or some sort of very powerful ring.
I do believe that is true.
And because this game starts out with you losing it to Shelob, and now she's got the super powerful ring, but you're going to have to go get it back. And, yeah, it's... there's a lot going on.
The plot's kind of broken.
The plot's a little janky, but it is made up for with the orcs that all trash talk you individually and hilariously.
That's real nice.
Yeah.
They do a good job with that, and they just need to combine that with the Final Fantasy XII system, and then we're set. What's it called, Sam?
The Gambit system.
Yes.
Oh, you mean like for some sort of team-based game?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like you and an army that you're controlling via the Gambit system versus a whole army of nemesis.
Come on, this has to be the way that video games are going. It's just, it could be tomorrow, but it's gonna be 15 years.
That's what For Honor should have been.
That's true. That's what a lot of games should have been.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got to say. I'm sure I'll have a few more next week after I've probably played through a more sizable chunk.
Yes, I'm also considering doing this game and playing some myself.
You say that a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, because I like to play video games.
Yeah, indeed.
Are you sure about that?
Mostly.
Well, we know he doesn't like to watch TV.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, how about we take a break?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Welcome back to the LAAGCast. Moving on to movies and TV. There's some interesting news tidbits that we can chew on here, I think. First of all, we got that trailer for Star Trek Discovery.
That was a good trailer.
That was a pretty good trailer. The uniforms will take a little getting used to. I don't love the off-center turtleneck thing happening. That seems very restrictive.
I don't understand it.
Right.
But aesthetically,
It's only a little weird to me.
I mean, it's almost, though, like they were, like maybe they had these planned from the beginning, but they were like, let's start them with these other uniforms that are really generic, and then when we move to these, they'll be just closer enough to the original uniforms that they'll think that, they'll take these, and they'll love it. They'll love what we give them.
Judging by the way they've talked about this show publicly, they definitely did that.
I mean, I would like it if all of Discovery... I mean, how much fun would it be to see Saru in one of those uniforms?
Oh, that would be great.
So hopefully they do go to that at some point.
Indeed.
Make the uniform change that they need to make Star Trek great again. Anything else about the trailer? I mean, I guess it's at first they lead you on and make you think, all right, they're not going to lean too heavily on the old stuff because Spock ain't around. And then as soon as you're having that thought, because they say Spock isn't around, well, the narration turns around and says, Spock's the key to everything.
I'm a little burnt out on Spock.
Yeah, I don't need another new version of Spock already.
Exactly, because he's in the movies.
Right.
And why are we in prequel land?
No, the one thing I'll say is that I don't think I've ever seen Spock that I really didn't like.
Yeah, but I mean, if they were actually going to have Spock show up, wouldn't they have told us who it was by now, or are they doing like full super secret casting, which could mean it's either a very big name or a complete nobody that they think is going to be good, but maybe people won't think it's going to be good. Maybe they just want to maintain a twist. I mean, he has to show up, right? They can't be saying his name that many times in the trailer and not have him show up.
Yeah, he has to show up. It's confirmed.
Yeah, it's too bad. And I mean, I like Pike a lot, but knowing that he can't come back after this because he does serve on the Enterprise, it might be fun if Discovery just goes ahead and leans into this idea of sort of a rotating captain seat, where Discovery just is constantly getting new captains every season. And you could explore a whole spectrum of different styles of captain in that case. And you can have a lot of fun with it.
They might be doing that.
Fun,
yeah. Who else in Star Trek lore has a family that was in Starfleet? Like Ben Sisko doesn't come from a Starfleet family, does he? No. Maybe the Crushers. Maybe we could see a great grandfather of the Crushers come on and be captain for an episode or two.
Paris's dad is an admiral.
Yeah, Tom Paris's family. The Paris lineage goes back. There's several Admiral Paris in Starfleet. So, yeah, Captain Paris. I love it.
That's true.
Anyway, moving on from Trek. I found out today that Netflix has gone ahead and become the latest network to order Lock and Key, which has been attempted to adapt multiple times into live action. Yeah, Hulu had at least a pilot at one point. I don't remember if it was Showtime or HBO that was going to do it.
I'm actually not familiar with Lock and Key.
It's really good. It's by Joe Hill, who is, of course, Stephen King's son. And drawn by Gabriel Rodriguez, and it's just a cool independent comic series about this family that goes to this big, crazy old house that has a bunch of keys in it, and all of the different keys do different weird magical things. Like there's a key that when you turn it in a lock in the house and step through the door, you leave your body and turn into a spirit that can fly around. Or there's a key that if you pull it to the back of your head, a keyhole will open up in your head, and you can put it in and unlock it, and then your head will open up, and all of your memories will be there, sort of like playing as little animations, and they can be taken out or have additional things put in. And they do a lot of really cool things with the various keys, and it becomes the story about this family, the Locke family, as they sort of fight against this ancient demon that's connected to the metal that all of these keys are forged out of.
Okay.
It's very cool. It's horror adventure, I would call it.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I can see why companies want to adapt it.
And it would be a very good show. I think there's nothing in it that isn't adaptable. Like, all the stuff is very sort of easy to visualize, I think. Rodriguez is an excellent illustrator. So, it's an excellent series, and hopefully they can get a good show out of it.
All right. So you watched some Comic-Con trailers?
Yeah, you didn't watch all the Comic-Con trailers? I think
did
Sam
not.
watched several of the Comic-Con trailers.
I saw some highlights from Aquaman.
All right, well, let's start with Aquaman then. Looks colorful. I like that.
Yeah, I thought it looked interesting at the very least.
Patrick Wilson looks hilarious as Orm.
I
Ocean
forgot
Master.
to watch Aquaman trailer.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's sort of got an Avatar-y vibe, and Jason Momoa is sort of being his podcast self from Justice League. You know, your mileage may vary.
He looks real good in the whole Aquaman outfit.
Yeah, it's very CG heavy, obviously.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It is what it is. So we'll see. You know, looks like it's going to be a sort of Game of Thronesy. Sort of, you have to stop your brother from taking the throne. You know, it remains to be seen if it'll be more Game of Thronesy or more Black Panther-y in terms of how deep they take the plot. But yeah. But the other big superhero trailer that we saw at Comic-Con, of course, was Shazam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks pretty funny.
This is the trailer I think I've heard the most very mixed reviews of. Some people really like it, and some people are really not cool with the direction this is going. A subsection of these people are posting images of Captain Marvel being really badass in Kingdom Come and being like, this is the way Captain Marvel's supposed to be. And I always have to stop myself from replying like, yeah, in that series drawn by Alex Ross, where Kingdom Come, where he's being mind controlled to be evil by Lex Luthor and isn't in his correct state of mind throughout the entire series. Oh, that's your correct version of Shazam? Good job. He's for the kids. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And our review, this is one case where I'm comfortable saying that like the review of a 10-year-old is actually more important than, you know, us as cynical adults.
That's true. And if Captain Marvel, or
Shazam
is walking around the entire movie acting like a 10-year-old kid, I mean, it could be really funny as long as they don't stray too far into the toilet humor.
Yeah, I do hope that he does get heroic by the end and doesn't completely keep just like an irreverent kid personality the whole time.
I mean, actual kids go crazy over the opportunity to be a responsible adult. They don't get how to do it, but I feel like they want to do it.
That's the correct way to do Billy Batson, so hopefully. Yeah. So that could be good. Did anybody watch the trailer for Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
No.
Or Kill All Monsters, or The Rule All Monsters, or whatever. The new Godzilla movie. Yeah, all the monsters are in it. Like Mothra, looks like it's she. I think Mothra's a she is in it.
Yeah.
And maybe Rodan or I don't remember anyone else specifically besides Mothra and at the end Ghidorah, the three-headed dragon.
But none of the metal ones.
No, I didn't see Mechagodzilla, unfortunately. But it does look like it's running with a little bit of the way the plot of the last Godzilla movie worked, where Godzilla is one of the monsters that is a protector.
Yeah,
You know,
which is
as
the
it
better
should be.
version of Godzilla.
It's very likely that Mothra will also be a protector. Mothra is one other good kaiju.
Right.
And yeah.
It's so weird that Godzilla is the good guy.
No, it's great.
It's way better that way.
Yeah, he shows up and is a friend to children. You know?
I know.
Although Mothra's the one who is summoned in the Japanese ones. I believe Mothra is summoned by like two little girls.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Usually Godzilla just gets disturbed or is going for a walk, and, you know, there happens to be another monster.
Right? And the last thing I want to talk about, which technically counts as a superhero movie if you ask me, or at least a comic book movie, is Glass. I know you watched the trailer for Glass.
Yeah.
Right?
Is this the one that's like a sequel to like Unbreakable or something like that?
Yes, this will be the third movie in the Unbreakable trilogy.
Third.
Right?
Oh,
M. Night
already
Shyamalan.
been two. I didn't even know the second one was in the same series as Unbreakable when I saw it.
Did you not watch the post-credit scene when you watched it?
I must not have.
Yeah, it's you get the post-credit scene at the end of
Maybe
Split.
I did, and I was super
What is-
confused.
What is the second movie?
That would be Split, starring James McAvoy and Anna Taylor-Joy.
Okay.
Where James McAvoy is a crazy weirdo with 23 personalities who abducts some girls and keeps them in his creepy warehouse until the Beast shows up.
Beast being one of his personalities.
Right, the 23rd personality is supposedly has such like mind over matter control that turning into that personality physically transforms him into like a superhuman. Like he gets super strong, he can climb on walls or on the roof, and he gets like all weird and veiny and really intense. And it's just a really cool movie on its own. And then at the very end, you watch the whole movie, get to the credits, and big spoilers, obviously. you get a scene of like, oh, the girl's been rescued, and it's the news reporter's playing on a TV in the diner, and there's a couple of women talking about it, and then you see behind them is sitting Bruce Willis sitting there, and he watches the report, and he's like, I guess I'm gonna have to go after this guy. And he doesn't say that, but that's essentially what the movie is telling us.
Oh man.
So yeah, we're gonna get Bruce back as a dude from Unbreakable with super strength and crime premonition powers.
Yeah.
Or crime memory powers. He can see what people have done.
Yeah, and kind of invulnerability. I mean, Unbreakable is
right.
Unbreakable.
Right, invulnerable. And then, James McAvoy is the Beast, who will obviously be a good physical match for him. And then it's going to be Samuel L. Jackson reprising his role as Mr. Glass, the villain from Unbreakable, the man with a body that shatters into a million pieces for any reason.
Right, one step. Maybe the house shudders a little.
Yeah, he's going down, and it's going to be hard, and he's going to break a lot of bones.
That sucks.
I'm kind of looking forward to that one. Should be good. I am interested, to see Bruce Willis duking it out with James McAvoy. Just doing some real hard swings.
Yeah. That could be pretty good.
So the last thing isn't news, it's a rumor, but it was interesting enough, I thought, to talk about, which is that there's a rumor going around that due to the acquisition of the Fox Entertainment assets by Disney, that there's been talk of shit-canning the 2 X-Men movies that are currently in the pipe, and all filmed and pretty much ready to come out, I believe, which would be New Mutants, which was going to be that horror-tinged take on the X-Men, and Dark Phoenix, the next movie after Apocalypse, that was going to, it's going to be Dark Phoenix. The addendum to this rumor is that supposedly both of the movies are really bad, like recent Fantastic Four movie bad.
That's what it takes.
So they may, in order to kind of clear the road for whatever Disney will eventually decide to do with those characters, may just decide to can those movies. Maybe even save them for some sort of streaming thing later.
Yeah, a special thing would be probably fine. I mean, if they're that bad.
Yeah.
And Disney rolling. Is there a possibility of them rolling X-Men into their MCU?
Yeah, they will eventually, if and when this happens. It's just a matter of when. Although at the earliest, it would probably be like 3 or 4 years away before we'd be getting any X-Men into any MCU movies.
Right, but this also means that Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer could also be getting their own MCU movies.
Are they at Fox? Or were they?
I feel like those movies, unless they were Sony.
No. They are Fox. Hopefully.
Man, Silver Surfer.
That'd be nice to get him in there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I like him so for some reason. Mostly nostalgia.
Yeah, no, some of those older comics are good, man.
No, it gets real trippy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the news. You watch anything this week, Will?
Not anything that you guys would be interested in hearing about.
Oh, really? Us or the audience or anybody?
I watched a lot of hours of other people playing League of Legends.
That doesn't count. That's not movies or TV. Sam?
I watched a bunch of movies.
Oh, all right. Tell us about... Where would you like to start?
Well, let's just go in the order that I watched them.
Sounds good. I'm down.
First, I watched a Christmas movie.
What's that?
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, off of last week's news.
Yeah,
couldn't resist, huh?
Couldn't resist. It's just so good.
So good.
And it is so much a Christmas movie.
Very much so. The music.
All the characters are singing the jingles. They're saying Merry Christmas to each other. That's what the criminals say when they break into the vault finally.
Ho, 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 now I have a machine gun.
Yeah, right. It's all great.
Yeah.
It's so action-packed.
Yes.
Taking place just in that one building, the Nakatomi building.
It doesn't drag. There's no drag at any point.
At no point. And the fact that Bruce Willis is running around the entire movie barefoot.
It sucks.
Yeah, but it gives him that iconic look.
Yeah.
That is so funny in Broforce.
Yes. White beater, bare feet.
Beater, bare feet. Yeah, great movie. And that got me in the mood for 80s action.
Okay.
So I decided to, for the first time in my life, watch Alien.
Oh, all right. Not an action movie, but an 80s movie.
An 80s
Wait,
movie.
is Alien from 79?
Yeah, it might have been. Whatever.
Anyway, moving on. I'm so shocked that you've never...
I was going off Broforce.
I was so shocked. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked you've never watched Alien. It's blowing my mind right now.
Well, when I was a kid, I was told it was too scary for me.
It's real scary.
I tend to listen to my parents. As I got older, it was just like an old movie that I had never seen. Add it to the list. So I never got around to it. I watched
now.
it. Yeah. Suspenseful.
Highly.
Yeah. Not that scary, but I guess I'm desensitized.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen now the tricks of Alien so many times as they've been ripped off by so many other filmmakers. But yeah, man, that cat, you're really wanting that cat to get out alive.
Yeah, and that cat
Jonesy.
got out alive, which was great. Yeah, no, really, it was all great.
Alien looks great. Practical effects continue to look fantastic.
Alien looks great. I didn't know that the aliens had acid blood.
Wow.
I didn't know that the alien grew from the chest burster, which was implanted by the facehugger. I knew all these things existed. I didn't know that they were all connected to the same alien organism.
My mind is exploding right now. Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I really had no idea.
Man, we
about
need to go
those
down the
things.
list, man.
Right? I also need that list.
Time to go down. Yeah, I guess you guys didn't go through the thing I did where, just a couple of years while I was in college, I just had to watch all of the movies that people ever talked about.
Yeah, no, the best I did was I watched 12 classic movies for high school.
Yeah.
And wrote about them, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
That's boring.
Yeah.
For me, it's just every once in a while I watch an old movie.
And this one lived up to expectations.
Ah, man,
And
so much.
Sigourney's
So good.
great.
Sigourney is great, and also I watched it because now I know I'm going to get so many references.
Right, many references. Yeah, but I think that compared to Alien, there's a lot more in terms of quotes that people use in the other movie that I suspect you watched.
Yes, after that I immediately watched Aliens.
Aliens, yes, the action movie sequel. That is an 80s
Yeah.
action movie.
Yeah, that is indeed, that one really is an action movie where the other one isn't. And that it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's it's action packed. There's high stakes. You get good fights. You got multiple aliens instead of just one. You've got Bill Paxton. You got Michael Biehn.
Yeah,
You've got Sigourney being an actual action hero this time.
very true.
Man, the sequence that you see parodied on The Simpsons when they're going down into the tunnels. And the people are watching them on the screens with the dots, and they can see where all the dots are coming from. They're you gotta get out of there! They're all coming! And yeah, the whole sequence is
The Simpsons.
yeah, when the dog is loose and the ducks and groundskeeper Willie needs to get greased up to chase after him.
Oh my
And
god!
Burns is watching him on a little radar with the dots, and he's he's behind you! He's right behind you!
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I've definitely seen jokes about the first scene with the lifters when Ripley is just I can use that lifter,
Right.
and then grabs the piece and turns sideways and looks at the camera and zooms in on Ripley, and yeah, just something about the way it looks she's just gonna start using the robot to break dance is just so funny, and I definitely know I've seen that reference.
That's hilarious. Yeah, and you've got the smarmy guy who works for the company who was trying to
Oh
get.
my God.
They always have one of those.
Oh, what a piece of shit!
What a piece of shit. And then we didn't talk about that in the first one either, but the androids and what a great
Oh, man.
1-2 punch the two androids are.
Right, because in Aliens, the android
In Alien.
totally redeems
Right.
the android in Alien. And when the android in Alien, when Ash, when he started being bad and going after Ripley, and then they knock off his head and it's tentacles.
Yeah.
I totally was oh my god, is this the thing?
Right.
Before they revealed that no, he's a robot.
That'd been an amazing tie-in.
Yeah, makes me wonder. The Thing versus Alien.
Ooh, yeah, the two perfect organisms. But since the Thing could just become an alien,
Yeah, but if the alien got a chest burster inside the Thing,
I don't know what happens then.
I think that the chest burster would just be absorbed.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that the Thing beats the Alien at the end of the day.
Might be. That is a scarier movie than Alien in the long run.
And much more so than Aliens, which is intense, but there's not much in terms of scares. It's all just the intensity.
Yeah.
But, you got your good quotes. Your game over, man, game over.
Game over.
You've got, we should take off and nuke the site from orbit. It's
That's
the only
a good
way to
one.
be sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, I noticed when they're going down to the planet, like everything the pilot of the dropship says is something that the Wraith pilots in StarCraft say.
Yeah,
And
that has
it's
to be
like
on purpose.
a complete.
Yep.
I feel like it's definitely they just took that out of the movie.
You're
and
absolutely
straight up
right.
Added it in.
StarCraft is full of references that
To Alien,
yeah.
too. Yeah, like the Zerg in general are
Well.
very alien-like.
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
But yeah, StarCraft, they love to throw in. Blizzard loves
they do it with-
in Warcraft, too.
Yeah, Warcraft too,
Yeah.
and not just World of Warcraft. Like the guys before that, just everywhere you
Yeah.
can find a reference to some other thing that you've probably never heard of, but their nerds have.
Right, they're cracking up over there.
Yeah. So I guess next I'm gonna have to watch Predator because I have never seen that.
See, I only recently watched Predator all the way through for the first time. That is another solid one, man.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's and the performances in that one by some of the people, because not only is Arnold in it, but Jesse the Body Ventura is also one of the Marines.
Yeah,
And,
body mass alone.
And Shane
These
Black,
guys.
the writer of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Lethal Weapon, is also one of the Marines in Arnold's little crew. And I feel like he may have he wrote Predator, or he didn't direct it, I don't think, but he was definitely on the production of that as well. And he's doing the new one that's coming out.
That should probably be next for me.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I'd just hate to run out of good classic movies that I've never seen. I've always been kind of scared of that.
You've watched RoboCop, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that one I did watch when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
because that's a kid-friendly movie.
Now, unlike RoboCop, I do recommend that you ignore what people say and watch Predator 2, even though people say it's awful, because it's hilarious. It takes place in, like, a future Los Angeles. That's, like, a hilarious future Los Angeles. Like, the very first thing that happens is there's, like, this outdoor street market, and, like, a couple of cars roll up and skid to a stop, and these two gangs just start having, like, a gang war on the street with laser guns, but, like, they're dressed normally. It's just that they have laser guns, so it's the future.
Awesome.
So, the whole thing takes place in weird future LA, and the Predator's on the loose there, and Danny Glover has to track him down. So, well worth your time, although it's not a good movie.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
That does sound entertaining.
So, any other films?
No, just those three.
All right, well, I watched a movie that I haven't watched for a long time, but I had seen before, which is Pleasantville.
What is this?
Yeah, what is that?
This was a movie, I want to say from the late 90s, starring Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon as a couple of modern kids who get sucked into a old 50s, like, black and white sitcom that the Tobey Maguire kid is a big fan of, called Pleasantville.
Oh, man.
And Don Knotts is this, like, TV repairman who shows up when their house TV breaks and gives them, like, a special magic remote that sends them into Pleasantville. If you've ever seen Hot Tub Time Machine, it's hilariously the same plot. Right down to the old comedian who used to be in the kind of media that he is showing up to send the cast of this movie back to, like with Chevy Chase sending the cast back to 80s movies, and Don Knotts shows up to send him back to an old fucking sitcom.
Okay, yeah.
Now, the interesting thing, though, about Pleasantville is it's this really overarching, like, super heavy-handed, like, segregation in America thing. Because while they're there, Tobey Maguire's sister, Reese Witherspoon, who is, like, sort of she's like a punk girl at school, in high school, and is kind of down with the guys, she starts introducing some of the people of Pleasantville to adult concepts. And what happens when the people of Pleasantville think about things that they shouldn't be thinking about in their sitcom world, they turn into color. instead of being in black and white, and like everybody can see it, like you're just walking around, you're in color, and it leads to some pretty weird stuff as the town starts to break along the colored lines, and you know the shop owners that are still black and white, they don't like these new things, like things are going wrong. Our basketball team used to always win, but now we lost a game. That's insane. Like what's happening to this world? And so you've got stuff like shop owners putting signs in their windows that say no coloreds, and you have one of the kids from school seeing Tobey Maguire hanging out with this girl who's been colored in, and he drives by, and his name's Whitey, and Whitey says the line, like, hanging out with your colored girlfriend. So, like I said, there's nothing subtle about the allegory. But it's actually a really good movie, sort of about art, because it ends up being this thing where the guy who owns the diner, and who just is the burger flipper, that's all he does is flips the burgers, and he has sort of, like, no autonomy. He's like, they're all, like, holodeck characters that haven't had programs written at first. Like, they're very much, like, not able to do anything except the exact things they would be doing on the show.
Right, sitcom.
Right. But when this guy says a line to Tobey Maguire about, like, oh, the one thing I like to do is paint the Christmas mural every year because that's the one thing I get to do different. So Tobey Maguire goes and gets him a book of art from the library where the books used to be blank, but ever since people start getting colored in, a lot of the books have started to get filled in. He brings him a big art book, and we just get all these great pages of him going through, like, Van Gogh and Leonardo and Matisse and just like all the great artists, and he starts painting murals that are very controversial on the town wall. It's it's sort of clunky in a lot of things that it's obviously trying to say, but I think it's a fun movie, and the interplay of the color and black and white work is spot on. It's very good.
Yeah, that sounds really, really interesting.
And I believe they were achieving it by just painting everything black and white, including the people, and just not doing that as people were getting colored in. So I believe it's a makeup achieved effect, and they weren't actually filming in any kind of black and white, which
that
makes
makes sense.
very cool.
Yeah, really.
So yeah, I'd give that a recommend. Good, but not great.
All right. Well, moving forward, how about some rankings?
Yes, let us rank some. Oh,
I forgot to mention that Aliens is about motherhood. I noticed that while watching the movie.
Yes.
I thought it was hilarious.
yeah, that's another blatant, like not very subtle theme going on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where they have Ripley find a little girl to take care of.
Right, after finding out that she'd lost 50 years and her daughter's dead.
Right. And then it's the end of the movie sets her up against the alien queen, who's also just a mother trying to protect her kids.
Yeah, they almost make a deal, and then Ripley's just like, nah, I'm just going to burn all your eggs right in front of you, throw everything I got in there.
They almost make a deal. It's so true. I always forget about that. But, maybe the most iconic line of that movie is, of course, when Ripley rides the elevator up, comes out in the lifter mech to fight the alien queen, and delivers, like, get your hands off her, you bitch! Or get away from her, you bitch.
Right, that's it.
Yeah.
Man,
Great line.
Just so good right there. So good.
Yes, good stuff.
All right, enough about that.
Enough about that. Let's rank some characters from Star Trek. Now, as always, we have prepared 2 lists of 3 characters. You guys will select from one of the 2 lists, and if you guys each choose a different list, then I will break the tie, and we will add the 3 characters from the selected list to our master list of Star Trek characters.
Them's the rules.
Them's are the rules. So, fellas, would you like to rank 3 villains or 3 random Deep Space Nine characters?
Deep Space Nine.
Sure. All right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So the first one is a character who is like weird to me that we haven't ranked yet. So it's going to be Major Kira Nerys.
That is weird that we haven't ranked Major Kira Nerys.
I'm going to have to go through the list later, but I believe that this is the final main cast member for us to rank. Oh, wait. Enterprise has the pilot, too, and the communications officer. So we're going to have to do a miscellaneous Enterprise episode as well. But anyway, yes, Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine.
Wow. Kira's great.
Kira's fantastic. Man of Visitor's great. It's actually turns out to be a very good thing that we didn't, or they didn't get to go through with their plan of having it be Ensign Ro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that Ensign Ro's terrible.
No, she's fine.
She's fine. It's just Kira's way better.
Yes, it was a very good character. She's like one of the most DS9 characters of all. Like, she could only exist on that show because of the fact that she's not in the Federation, obviously. She's with the Bajorans, and the Bajorans are like the whole deal about everything that's going on.
She's the most interesting thing about the Bajorans.
Yes, she's by far the most interesting thing about the Bajorans. She's got great relationships with Gul Dukat. Like, they've got a great back and forth, the two of them. And man, she just gets mad so good.
Yeah, that's her thing.
Yeah.
I also kind of feel like some of the episodes focused around Kira and the Bajoran Faith are some of the weakest episodes in Deep Space Nine.
If Cisco isn't involved in the Bajoran Faith episodes, they're a little dicey.
Yeah, it's maybe a necessary bore.
Yeah, I mean, the show has to have them, but I'm right there with you that I would probably rather watch an episode starring any other character.
Right,
about
with Klingons rather than Bajorans.
Right, yeah, exactly. But still, yeah, she's great. Awesome. Her whole thing with Odo, fantastic.
Yeah.
The whole past on the station is great, and the freedom fighter background is
that's really good.
I mean, they obviously liked her. They tried to put a bunch of her onto Voyager when they did the whole Maquis thing, and then they just didn't follow through.
That's true.
Yeah, but at least they got $2.
All right, so where are we looking for Kira? I think that with her, because I think she's pretty high up there, honestly. Do we like her more or less than Quark?
Ooh.
Ooh, she'd hate this.
I know. For all the good things we just said, I do put Quark above her. Because I think I also put Dax above her, and Dax is right below Quark.
I don't know if I'd put either of them above Kira.
I'm gonna have to go with Sam.
Okay.
I think that I might put Kira one above Quark, but below Scotty.
Below Scotty.
Scotty, Sam. Scotty.
Montgomery Scott.
And I have a little bit of bias towards Deep Space Nine, but I'll concede.
I think that's the good middle ground.
All right, so that's still pretty high, coming in at the new number 17. That's Major Kira Nerys. That is how you spell Nerys. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Next up on the list is a character who isn't going to be as high, and that is Ezri Dax.
Ezri Dax.
Ezri Dax.
The
Not the best
inferior
Dax.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Far from the best Dax. Comes in late, so doesn't get much time to establish herself.
No, that's true.
Weird because of plot purposes.
Yeah.
There's always the problem of disconnecting her from Jadzia just because she'll talk about Jadzia-related things.
I'm not a huge fan of the whole arc and triangle with her and Worf and Bashir.
No.
I never buy the Bashir thing, and I feel like it's weird for Bashir to be so into her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that probably her best bit is her and Garrick.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he tells her the truth.
Right, yeah. But I mean, she has the problem of being added as a counselor to a crew that does not need or want a counselor of any kind.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's also why she could get the job.
So, yeah, Ezri unfortunately is going to have to go pretty low. I'm actually looking at putting her actually really low. I don't know if I could put her above Guinan.
But not far below Guy.
Tasha Yar.
Tasha Yar.
I could put her below Guinan.
I could put her above Tasha.
Above Tasha? I might even put her below Tasha.
If you want, that's okay. I'm pretty.
No? Yeah.
I'm fairly ambiguous on that Ezri Dax.
The bottom of the list doesn't interest you much. What is she, a lieutenant?
Yeah.
Probably.
Ezri Dax and 51 or 52, somewhere down there. All right, last. This one is a top shooter, guys.
Oh, what top shooter?
Because it's Garrick.
Oh, Garrick. Mr. Garrick.
Garrick, the best Cardassian, as much as I love Gul Dukat.
I love Garrick. He's so smart.
I'd rather watch an episode about Garrick than an episode about Gul Dukat.
That's true. When it comes to just entertainment value.
Garrick, does he have a weak episode?
Probably not. I don't think so.
I don't think he does.
I wouldn't say so.
Anytime we're focused on him, and he's another one of those characters where the less you know about his past, the better. I'm glad we never got a 100% clear-cut backstory on Garrick.
You can piece it together if you try really hard.
You can piece it together, but even then, some of what you're piecing together is based only on things he's said that may or may not be true.
Right, half-truths, at least.
But yeah, stuff that springs to mind is like when they're defending the station and Gul Dukat is like standing in the corridor with the phaser and Garrick walks over with his guns and they're like, are we going to shoot each other? But Garrick's like turns around like, I don't think so today.
Yeah, it's completely at odds with earlier in the show when he's hired to kill Natima, Quark's Cardassian girlfriend.
Right.
And he just ends up turning on the Gul who comes to make sure he does the job and shooting him instead.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, he has a heart of gold.
I mean,
There's so many hearts of gold on that ship.
it's episode 2 that he shows up in, right? And comes and talks to Bashir. It's episode 2 or 3.
I believe it's 3, because number 2 is the Odo Framed for Murder episode.
You're right, because 3 is the one where Lursa and B'Etor come to the station, and that's the one.
That is the one.
Yeah, with super annoying Bashir, because they hadn't gotten his character right yet.
We're going to have to rate Lursa and B'Etor. Should we rate them together?
Yes. The show never saw fit to separate them. I don't see why we should.
Alright, just making sure. But back to
Garrick.
Back to Garrick. Oh, man. Yeah.
Garrick figures into the James Bond episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's heavily in the James Bond episode.
Of course, yeah. Alright, Garrick is going to go weirdly high for some people.
Yeah, I think that he's really, really up there.
It's hard for me to put him into the top 10, though, honestly.
He's really charismatic, though.
I don't know if I can say in my heart that I truly believe that Garrick is a better character than Captain Kirk.
Okay, can't do that, no.
Now, that said, I think it's a very neck-and-neck race between Garrick and Commander William Riker, who I do like a lot. I have to rate Riker higher, actually.
Yeah,
just put him right on top of Gul Dukat.
I rate him higher. Who's after Riker?
Gul Dukat, the other Cardassian.
Okay, let's put him right over Dukat then.
Because he's definitely better than Trip, Tucker, and Dr. McCoy?
Yes.
If he weren't, he'd be right above Trip.
Yeah.
They're about the same level for me in entertainment value.
Garrick, a simple tailor.
Yes, that is all. Nothing more.
Yes.
All right, so that's 3 more characters on the list. We're coming up on the end, guys. I don't know how many more of these we're going to be able to do. We're going to have to switch to something else for our rankings.
Yeah,
Send us your suggestions.
We'll just throw in characters outside the Star Trek franchise that kind of fit in. We'll throw in Orville characters. We'll throw in Galaxy Quest.
We'll just throw Star Wars into Star Trek.
Interesting. We won't do that. But the idea of ranking the parody characters on the list might have some merit.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And we can always just copy the list and do another one with parody.
So. Anyway,
we need a break.
Let's take a break, yeah.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the LAAGCast, and we've got some comics news and comics reviews for you. But first, as always, the Transformer of the Week. Will, you seemed surprised when you saw this little car that it even was a Transformer.
Well, it's kind of small. It's very, very small, actually.
Yeah, this is definitely a mini-bot. But this is Tailgate. Tailgate's like a little sports car. It turns into a little teal and white bot with a couple of flips. And Tailgate is another character who shows up a lot in that series I like more than meets the eye. He was going to be a passenger on the original Ark millions of years before the First War, but he accidentally fell in a hole in the ground and damaged his chronometer.
Oh, no.
And when he broke out and showed up again and went to the launch pad for the Ark taking off, it was actually Rodimus's Ark taking off post-war, and Tailgate had been down in the ditch for like 4 billion years. So he's basically like a little kid, even though he's the oldest one, because he spent all that time down there unconscious.
Wow.
And he's like a little plucky adventurer type who joins the crew and goes on their adventures and forms a deep bond with Cyclonus, the super honorable Klingon of the group. Tailgate.
All right.
So not much in news this week, hilariously, considering Comic-Con was last week, but I guess
we got it all right away.
We got all the good comic news right away, and most of the actual comic stuff announced wasn't worth mentioning. But the one thing that was sort of interesting is that the Miracle Man series that's never been finished by Neil Gaiman and Marcus Buckingham is apparently going to be finished, which some people will be excited about, not me. The Alan Moore Miracle Man is an absolute masterpiece of comic book storytelling. It's one of those comics where you finish it and you're like, I might not even ever need to read another comic again because he just put the concept to bed so succinctly.
Oh, wow.
But then that series did continue for several issues with Gaiman and Buckingham, but way back before it eventually did get canceled. But it all got kind of weird and flowery and Neil Gaiman-y and mystic things happening that it's like, who cares, considering what happened at the end of Alan Moore's run basically is like the end of the world anyway. So like, who gives a shit what else is happening?
No, I get that. So it could be good, but probably not, is what you're saying?
It could be good for some. For some people, this will be like one of those long time coming, like are gonna like it no matter what sort of deals. But yeah, I doubt I'll be picking that up. But it might be worth hearing for some of our listeners. A lot of people like Neil Gaiman. I'm just not one of them.
Understood.
So we've got quite a stack of comics this week.
Yes. Now, Max, you're the only one who read this one, right?
Yes, we finally got another issue of Doomsday Clock.
It's been a while.
I believe, this is the first issue since they've gone with the bi-monthly, one issue every 2 months schedule. This was a pretty good issue, though, overall. If you'll recall, the last issue I had a lot of complaints about the way the series was going in general, and just how dark and weird and dreary everything was. But this issue was kind of a lark. It was a lot of fun. It was just the Joker and a number of the other villains of the DC Universe all joining up for a meeting to discuss all the crazy stuff happening in the superhero world. Joker has captured Batman as of the end of the last issue, so he was planning to wheel him out in the middle of the meeting just as like a, hey, look what I brought you guys, everybody. And he's also taken Mime and Marionette from the Watchmen universe captive because they had been hunting down people who were in Joker's gang in the last few issues because they were interested in somebody else with clown makeup, I guess.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we do get the backstory also in this issue of Marionette and Mime, where she was a girl who lived with her dad, who was an immigrant brought to the country by some corrupt police officers, and he kept having to pay him off, and he worked at a doll shop making marionettes, and one day he had finally had enough and he hung himself, and the cops showed up and she killed him and ran off with a mute boy from the shop across the street, and they've been Marionette and Mime ever since. But yeah, just all the stuff with the villains is a lot of fun. They all have their meeting, and they're being led by the Riddler, who's very much the Frank Gorshin Riddler from the classic Batman show. It's actually funny the way Gary Frank has decided to draw a lot of these villains in some of their much more classic looks, like Captain Cold.
Oh, I like that look, though. Yeah.
And then Comedian shows up and starts killing a bunch of the villains, and people run, and the Joker's just having a blast because he loves chaos. And that's pretty much all that really happens in this issue. And it was fairly entertaining, I must say. I did like the way that it all kind of focused just on these characters. It does end with Joker giving Comedian a joy buzzer and meeting up with Marionette and Mime again, and seemingly starting a team up between them. Nice. So we'll see in 2 months where that goes.
That's the weirdest team up, those three.
Yeah, Joker, Mime, Marionette. That makes sense. He did ask them, did Harley send you to kill me? It's near my birthday. So moving on, we've got issue 6 of The Terrifics.
Yes, we do.
Yes, which was a pretty good issue.
Yeah, following up from last time's issue of them all getting trapped in the Morpho plane.
Yes. It's interesting because I really thought the way they were setting it up that the Metamorpho villain guy that shows up was going to be the villain for at least an issue or two.
Yeah.
But as this issue revealed, this Fantastic Four style team has their very own Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
In this guy, who looks and sounds exactly like Doctor Doom, and his name's Dr. Dread.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Now, I do believe that Dr. Dread is an already established character from the Tom Strong area of comics, which is why at the end of the issue they're in Tom Strong land. But the other major thing about this issue I wanted to talk about that I really liked was the way it handled the panel breakdowns. It did this last issue as well, where it had 4 panels per page, with each panel being one of the 4 characters.
Yeah, it really works in this one.
In this one, the way they keep building to big splash pages of all the characters, it's very satisfying, and the big splashes are very big and epic when they happen. Just really good comics, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, very well drawn. The characters are really pretty endearing. You get a good little twist for Rex at the end of this issue, so we're going to see what happens with him. I mean, this is another Fantastic Four plot right here.
Right.
what happens when the Thing gets depowered, because he wants to be depowered, but we need the Thing.
Yeah, definitely. You can't stay like that.
So yeah, very much enjoying where the Terrifics has gone and continues to go. I'm looking forward to finally meeting Tom Strong, because I think it was the end of the first issue that teased him, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Now moving on to issue 3 of the Immortal Hulk.
Yep.
I didn't like this issue that much, personally, because I hate art jams.
I mean, that's fair.
Wait, you hate what?
Art jams, where
Art jams?
a art team does various different pages of the issue.
In different ways.
So, and in their own different styles, and so everything.
It gets really jarring.
Now, normally the only time that I'm okay with that is if they're using it to break something up, like if they're doing flashbacks and they have the flashback sequences take place in one artist's style and the modern stuff take place in another.
That makes sense.
And they do that in this one, because each of the art styles is supposed to represent a different person telling the story.
But I get what you're saying, because the comic loses all its flow, because every time it switches, it's like so abrupt that it's shocking, and you have to readjust that you're still reading the same comic. And like, you kind of gotta have to register, like, what the hell's going on? There's so many green people, because this artist is just weird.
Yeah, and Marguerite Sauvage's pages in particular seem weirdly out of place. I like her art style; it works good, but like, it's so flowery and like anime over the top compared to every other. Like even the other cartoony styles that we're seeing, that it just seemed weird to me. And this one, even more so than the others, had a problem with not enough Hulk.
That is true. I did like the last page though, with the monster in the mirror.
Yeah, so that's got to be Sasquatch, right?
Yeah, look at that thing
from Alpha Flight. So I guess we're gonna get something finally that is going to be a threat to the Hulk, because we're 3 issues in and he's just spent 3 issues
Immortal,
smashing things. Yeah. All right, so moving on to a new number 1 that I didn't think I was going to get until the last second, but I ended up picking it up. The first issue of Justice League Dark. Yeah, you guys both read this?
Yeah, it had a lot of plot.
There was a lot of plot. This is a word balloon heavy comic.
I don't feel like it was bad, but I feel like they were trying to fit a lot in.
It reminded me a little of Immortal Men in a bad way. Of like they're trying to set up this threat that isn't that compelling yet. And it does have the advantage of at least having recognizable characters. I mean, I'll be frank with you guys. I picked this up because Detective Chimp is on the cover and he has a sword.
Yeah.
Also,
he's probably the best part.
Let's be honest to the comic.
And Swamp Thing has gotten a redesign here to look a lot like Alan Moore.
Yeah.
That sort of long, stringy hair and a beard happening. And Man-Bat's in this comic.
See,
that's fun.
Like,
yeah.
I like all the characters that were showing up. It was an entertaining comic.
But I mean, I think this had more speech bubbles than Action Comics this week. And if you're out speech bubbling Bendis, there's probably too many words in your comic.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, that's definitely the main complaint. And yeah, a little bit of an Immortal Men vibe.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So after this first issue, I'm kind of lukewarm on this. So did you guys want to continue it for another issue at least?
The one thing I like is that I like the magic broken plot. I like when the universal magic is broken, and if they take that in a good way, I'd be very happy with that.
It does seem like it's following in Justice League's lead a little bit with it's the end of the world and everything's coming apart, and it seems like it's going to escalate more and more.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does seem like it's piggybacking just as much as the main Justice League book is off of the events of No Justice.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe even more so directly, because Justice League is just like, oh, the source wall's broken, now there's this other thing, and this is actually legitimately dealing with something that happened in No Justice.
It's addressing the issue, finally!
So, yeah, well, I'll get another issue. I won't add it to the poll yet, but if they have it at the comic book store, I'll pick it up.
All right.
Works for us.
All right, moving on to a book I honestly didn't think I'd still be picking up this many issues in, but it continues to be very entertaining.
I know. And this issue, at first it's a little confusing, but it takes like 3 pages to figure out what's going on, and then they tell you on the 4th page.
They do.
But
so this is, of course, Marvel 2-in-1, Thing and Human Torch, issue 8.
Yep. It's it's a great comic where suddenly we find out that what are the Thing and Human Torch's names?
Johnny and Ben.
Yeah, Johnny and Ben have been just living on this in this universe for it seems like years at this point.
Oh, I don't know if it's that. I think it's like a week's thing.
Well, we have had a full reversion from the Thing to Ben.
Yeah,
so
he was sinking fast.
it's true, but I would say at least a couple months.
I think that, it didn't specify the amount of time, but I don't. A couple of months, maybe. Yeah, I could see that happening, but not years.
Either way.
If Johnny still has too much hope at the beginning of this issue that they're going to be able to make moves soon, I think, for it to have been that long.
That's a good point.
But we do get the reveal in this issue for Johnny of the truth that, as far as Ben knows, Reed and Sue are dead, and that they've actually been on a wild goose chase. And Johnny's rightfully pretty angry about that, as he accidentally burns down their house.
Yes.
Because he's real bad about fire. He keeps burning himself because he has gone through most of his adult life not having to worry about burning himself, so he didn't develop any of those reflexes.
Yeah.
He's burning himself on pots on the stove and things like that.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, in general, I thought it was a pretty decent, entertaining issue.
That's good, man.
I want to know where it goes next, and I wonder if the next issue will be more Thing and Human Torch stuff, or if we'll switch over to Rachna and Doctor Doom, who hopped through the portal at the end of the previous issue.
That is a great point. This series can do that.
Yeah, so, and the new Fantastic Four 1 is coming up fast, so this series definitely has a ticking time bomb on it, where it's probably gonna wrap up relatively quickly, I'd imagine. Although they may just pivot to a different cast for Marvel 2 and 1.
What if Rachna and Doom go and find
they succeed?
Yeah, they succeed, exactly.
Because I can't imagine that anybody would have Doom be responsible for saving Reed.
But my God, it can happen if Rachna's there and she feels bad.
It could happen. Let's move on to what I thought was the best read of the week. Venom number 4. Venom number 4 is one of those comics that you remember for a long time after you read it, because it's so chock full of the kind of retcons that aren't even retcons. They're just, that thing you read about before that you thought was cool, well, here's how it connects to this cool thing.
Yeah.
That comics is famous for doing and has had a dearth of lately, if you ask me. This entire issue is a flashback story for the origin, both of, well, not really Null's origin, he kind of just is there, but Null, the symbiote god, and the story of the creation of the symbiotes.
It's him telling the entire story. It's him info dumping his whole history.
His whole history, which normally, is whatever, but there's lots of good action in his story.
He did such a good job in this one.
The art looks fantastic, and yes, we get the origin for the symbiotes, including origins for things like why they're afraid of sonics and fire.
Why are these little rectangles like they're knocking over buildings?
Because he's slamming into something, and we're just getting the sound effect as it trails off.
That's hilarious.
Now, yes, he creates the first symbiote, and it's this black symbiote sword. And I'm reading this issue, and I'm thinking, man, that's a cool sword. That sword with tendrils and stuff. Man, it'd be cool if it was all black, the Necro sword from Jason Aaron's Thor run. And then on the next page, he says that it is indeed all black, the Necro sword, the weapon of Gore the God Butcher from Jason Aaron's very, very good initial run on Thor.
That's cool.
So that's cool because we get some pages that show how it ties into that comic, how Null lost the first symbiote to Gore, and I guess went on to create more. On his little planet that he was left behind on after the battle, and he birthed the entire symbiote race.
Yeah.
The first symbiote was constructed inside of the decapitated head of a Celestial, which they don't say it specifically, but it's very possible that also is intended to be the origin of Nowhere, the giant Celestial head from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise.
Yep.
And, they tie it even more into Thor when they show that Null sent some sort of symbiote beast that we would know from human history or mythology as the Grendel from Beowulf.
Nice.
And it came to Earth and was terrorizing, but Thor showed up and delivered to it such a shock that it allowed the symbiotes to break free of Null's control, and they imprisoned him. And became free, made up a bunch of lies about their race, that they were a noble warrior race, and all this stuff. That's like all of the previous supposed backstory of the symbiotes that's now had a bow neatly tied on it and set aside because that stuff sucks.
Yeah, and now they're just all over space.
And now they're all over space, and we find out that Null isn't even here. He's actually imprisoned within Clintar, the planet of the symbiotes, which turns out to not even be a planet. It's just a big orb of symbiotes designed as a cage for Null, because Clintar is their word for cage. And then Miles Morales, who I forgot was in this comic,
he's just been lying there.
wakes up and delivers a real punch to Null's form and kind of takes his face off. But it's too late. They're in the Grendel dragon symbiote thing and flying through outer space already. So it looks like Miles is along for the trip. And I welcome him because Miles Morales as a sidekick for Eddie Brock is such an amazing concept, and I want it to just be permanent. Like, that's almost
hilarious.
That's the best new team up in comics since Dick and Damian in Batman. I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah, because Miles would be such a perfect foil for Eddie as Venom, and Eddie who wants to do good. He's got his little Venom sting, so he can take him down if he needs to. And I feel like that would raise Miles Morales' street cred, weirdly, as it were, if he was hanging out with an established powerhouse like Venom.
That's true.
Probably.
All right, a couple more left here. We got issue 2 of The Sentry.
Also, very interesting.
Very interesting issue. Pretty standard plot-wise.
That's true.
We did get the reveal that the kid that was the sidekick is in fact working with the supposed villain of the issue.
Yep.
And which is kind of the thing that we said was probably going to happen after reading the first issue, even though there was very little foreshadowing.
Even the stuff that was kind of like the surprise, it went along in the direction that was expected.
Right. Sentry basically doesn't show up really until the very end of this issue because it's a lot of Bob running around and panicking and complaining for the most part.
Yep.
But I do like where it's going. I like that the Sentry has shown up and is going to do stuff now. I'm intrigued to see him fight Iron Man. It does seem like that's going to happen. And then the twist that, for whatever reason, turning into the Sentry boots Robert Reynolds into the world that the device is creating, because I guess that device is actually a portal into the Sentry's subconscious or something, not just a virtual world.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Confluctor. Sentry, we'll see.
Yeah.
Definitely. Not the most action-packed second issue. It was more of a, we need to get these pieces to where they need to go.
Exactly. But they set up the next issue to be much more interesting.
Hopefully.
All
right, so next. This is an interesting one. This is very unusual.
It is.
Will, you read this whole thing?
Yes.
And Sam, you noped out after some pages?
I noped out about halfway through.
So this is issue 1 of X-Men Grand Design Second Genesis by Ed Piskor, and it is by Ed Piskor. He drew it, he wrote it, I think he lettered it, he put it on the page. Like, every single thing you're seeing is Ed Piskor decided to put it exactly like that.
Yeah.
Will, you're a little bit more of an X-Men neophyte than either me or Sam, so what did you think of this?
So, because I got the general concept of the comic before I started reading, I was willing to give it a little more room to give me what it had to offer.
Right.
Because every page is, like, based on, or is it actually, like, a direct copy of a page from the past?
He's not copying pages, but he will throw in panels that are designed to look like famous pieces of art from those runs.
Okay, So the comic, like, the first half, I had a lot of trouble following what was going on because it's so thrown together.
It flits from event to event very quickly.
Yeah. But the second half, I felt like it pulled it together, and by the end of the comic, I had kind of gotten the story, and I like that page where they did the whole into white. Into nothingness, and there's no more such thing as time anymore. So, like, even though it takes 10 bajillion years, they put everything back together.
Right, and then for the rest of the world, it seems like they were gone 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's good. I love it when they do stuff like that in comics with the art, because you can do such cool things.
Yeah, exactly.
They managed to get in a classic X-Men baseball scene. You got to have that for that era of X-Men. They get through, I want to say, like, man, it's got to be like 10, 15 years of X-Men storylines, because they do the Hellfire Club and almost all the Dark Phoenix saga.
And the characters just show up out of nowhere constantly and then are gone by like 2 boxes later.
Yep, they show up, they leave, weird things are happening. It's definitely one of those things where it simultaneously is a good summary of X-Men history, but also you get more out of it the more you already know, because you're going through and you're going like, oh yeah.
Which I think just means it's a good reference work.
Right. Now, and it's nice because the comic companies don't really do things like how DC used to publish the who's who of the DC universe, where it would just be, a comic issue you could buy, and it would be, here's 40 characters, like here's a whole page with art and like everything you need to know about these characters and their history.
Yep.
And they've kind of moved away from that with both the internet and also like publishers like DK will publish their big hardcover guides to the universes, and I think that's kind of subsumed that whole thing for readers. So it's nice to have something that you could hand somebody that is a story, but also is like here's everything you need to know about these characters.
No.
You could probably get through this very quickly.
This is not made to sell as a weekly. This is made to sell to people who are looking for X-Men comics.
Right, very much so. And when it's collected, I very much expect that it will be collected the same way as the first series, the Grand Design that he did, where it came out as comics in the regular size like this one did, but the trade collection of it is much larger. I want to say it's twice as big, maybe. It's a big, not quite softcover, not quite hardcover, one of those like flex bound, and
he probably draws big, so he ends up with this thing that they can release in such a nice size.
Yeah, I imagine that he draws it at that size. And his previous work before this, Hip Hop Family Tree, where he uses this exact style, but to chart the history of hip hop in America.
Yeah,
is same deal, same size, same everything, basically. And I've not read that, but honestly, after having read these, I'm very interested actually in perhaps going back, because I don't know that much about hip-hop history, and this might be a good way to absorb it.
I would probably actually enjoy that, because I actually do know a lot about hip-hop history.
Yeah, we should take a look at it.
Yeah.
All right, last, guys, we got another Superman comic by Bendis. Why
is here?
are we doing this?
He's here? Right now?
I didn't even get this on Wednesday, but since I was back at the comic book store the next day, I decided, okay, we may as well keep it going.
I mean, it ties directly into the Superman comics that we have been reading.
Apparently, the way it works is that
really does.
Superman is going to be the Cosmic book, and Action Comics is going to be the Metropolis book.
That's weird.
Is that what's going on?
That is what's happening. So while Superman is moving forward with the Rogol-Zar plot, Action Comics is moving on with the Random Fires plot.
Which is weird because it's like they're going on at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where you're not sure exactly what you're supposed to take. And I mean, based on how Man of Steel happened, we assume Lois is just gone. But then at the end of this issue, it seems like she's like sitting somewhere about to write a story.
Is this not that girl that was bothering him, and now she's writing a story about Lois?
That's what
The girl like dressed all weird.
Yeah, like she was totally badgering him. That's
that's
close enough. That is close enough. No. He had the right character.
Yeah. It's not the Fire Lady. It's
the one with the glasses.
Yeah, you're probably right. Anyway, the one great thing about this issue is that Patrick Gleason drew the whole thing, and this dude is like he was on Tomasi's Superman run for a number of the issues, and this dude draws Superman right.
Oh,
The way he draws Superman is really good.
that's true.
Like the action scenes are good. I did like the page of Superman trying to narrow down like
The bald
who could be
villains.
all of his bald villains.
Oh, that's just an excellent page.
Yeah, I don't know who several of these people are. Like this biker guy.
That puzzle face is awesome.
Puzzle Face. Yeah, I wonder who that was because that looks like a boot print to me. And I don't know what this like
Boot
eldritch
face?
horror is supposed to
This
be.
looks like a boot. Yeah, I was thinking like old Egyptian wall carving.
Oh yeah, no. I need like an annotations page for this one. Because Parasite, Brainiac, Mr. Freeze, Lex Luthor,
Right.
Egghead, Dr. Savannah. You recognize? I don't know who this doctor's supposed to be, and. I just realized I didn't read this the first time, but that's Brian Michael Bendis.
That's hilarious.
Really?
The Eye Patch Studios that's Bendis. That's his face.
That's hilarious.
Isn't there like a lizard doctor or something?
That's Marvel Comics, the Lizard.
Okay.
The lizard.
Anyway, this was another issue of Bendis Superman. And I guess we got to sort of reveal that there's like a secret society doing crimes in Metropolis and lighting fires to cover it. But this is
I guess, but they're not that interesting.
it's so low rent.
It seems like the only piece of information we got here is that for some reason these guys have an agreement not to burn the city down, but to start fires for cover when they're committing crimes, which doesn't make any sense.
So what I thought it was this one guy who was lighting most of the fires, the big bald guy.
No, I don't think they know who's lighting the fires. I think that they're just that guy was like, I'm gonna go blame Superman. You know,
Just the
I
one who
think
paid
he
the
thought
kid.
like the rest of them might be lighting the fires, so he wanted to get them off their trail, but actually none of them are, so he was just putting them on their trail, so he got burnt.
So we don't know who's actually lighting the fires still. We get introduced to this villain, the Red Cloud, which is literally like,
a red cloud.
could you have worked any less? It's a cloud of a color. Like, there better be a hilarious or awesome gimmick with this character, the Red Cloud.
At least in this one, we found out that Superman wasn't lighting the fires.
Thank
Oh,
God.
man, I was really on the edge of the seat about that one.
That was a rough cliffhanger for me. That was a rough couple of weeks because the idea that Superman could have been the one lighting those fires.
I would have lost all hope.
And heaven forbid they could have manufactured any drama about it rather than having Superman find out somebody fingered him and then have him on the next page solve the mystery in completion very easily.
That kid screamed. Shit, Superman's here.
Yeah.
Like, the whole weird thing with the legalities of having to investigate the crime is like, it's like half of an idea because they bypass it so quickly and easily.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter because Superman could just do his own investigation.
It doesn't really matter. It's so weird how little it matters. Bendis tried to go street with this issue, and he went too street.
That is true. That is true. He forgot who Superman is.
Yeah, like it's not big enough in the way it should be. Now, I guess I was kind of entertained by Superman's little patter at the beginning with the crooks that he was stopping, where like...
That was good.
But why couldn't the guy stop shooting him? I thought it was going to be like, oh, someone's mind controlling them.
No, I think the guy was literally just having like an anxiety attack as Superman showed up.
I thought at first he was being controlled too, but after a while it's just like, okay, so he's just done. Why is he gonna throw his gun at Superman?
He's so scared.
And why does Superman know he's gonna throw the gun at him before he throws the gun at him?
So you realize that, yeah, that's weird. But, because that also makes it seem like there's some sort of mental thing happening that's like sending the attack code.
This made perfect sense to me. He took his gun up to like throw it, and Superman's like, "Don't throw that gun at me." And then he pulled out the knife, and Superman's like, "Don't stab me with that knife."
All I know is that this means that both in Superman issue 1 and Action Comics 1001, both had scenes where a character was acting in such a way where we weren't sure if they were being mind controlled or not, and the book did not address it. Because Martian Manhunter and Superman won.
Right. I totally thought he was being controlled.
That is a weird trope to have characters like, and it's Martian Manhunter is one thing because we're saying that because we know who John Jones is and that he would never say anything close to that.
Right.
But this guy is just like a random crook, and we're like, okay, like, what's happening here? Why are you making us think about things that do not matter at all and only confusing us?
Yeah, after a minute, I thought Superman was controlling him in order to make him continue shooting Superman so that he would waste all of his bullets and thus his gun would no longer be a threat.
Guys, this is the big reveal. Superman now has psychic powers.
Superman has been actually controlling the minds of the people he's been talking to in all these conversations.
So Bendis is just writing conversations between Superman and himself?
Well,
that was the LAAGCast.
Thanks for stopping by. You can always follow us on Twitter at _LAAG. That's _LAAG, because we are the League of Above Average Gamers. Also, if you want to send us an email and tell us what series of characters you want us to rate against each other, send that to LAAGEntertainment at gmail.com. That's LAAGEntertainment at gmail.com. If you want to listen to the audio feed for the podcast, you can find that at LAAGEntertainment.libsyn.com or on many podcasting services. You can also just watch it on YouTube if you look up the LAAGCast. And I tried to get us on Apple Music this week, but it was more confusing than I thought, so we'll be on Apple Music probably next week.
Now, I just want to specify that we will not be entertaining any emails or questions of any kind related to why our egos were so large that we couldn't just name ourselves the League of Average Gamers and have a less confusing...
I will address anybody who wants to ask that because I am above average.
Have a good week, folks.
Interesting. I never thought of that.